Hello everyone, welcome to SAP Basis Training. This particular training is targeted to the following audience: SAP Technology Consultant, that is the Basis Consultant in all level, meaning to say you will be able to start the SAP Basis career from this course from scratch, or also for the advanced consultant, the business solution manager, that is the if you are a technical business solution manager for the large SAP systems, then you can attend this course and you can also benefit from this course. And IT governance experts, if you are a governing body of an SAP systems, or if you are planning to implement an SAP system in a larger scale, then you can benefit from this course. And business and project lead, of course, if you are leading a project on a larger scale, on a SAP basis project or a project which is starting from scratch, then this course will be very beneficial for you. Goals of this course is that you work as a basis consultant once you successfully complete this course, and you will also be able to configure SAP NetWeaver systems, and you can manage the NetWeaver systems, and you can also do the administrative task in the SAP systems. We will see what are all the course contents which will be covered in this entire course. First we will go over the introduction of SAP, and that means what is SAP NetWeaver, what is R3. So we start from very basic, and we will also learn navigating to SAP systems, how we can log into SAP systems, what are all the different values which is available to log into SAP system, and we will see the SAP system architecture and logon group, how we can create logon groups, and ABAP processes, what are all the different processes available in SAP systems, and the transactional processing, how the transaction is being processed, and gateway and web processing. As you know, you can also use SAP system nowadays as a web servers, and how the web processing works. We will see SAP Java, how the Java component in SAP works, and the concept behind that, and the Java procedures, and the Java cluster architecture, how it is designed. We will start with stopping and stopping of SAP system, how we can start an SAP system, how we can stop an SAP system, what kind of logs which is available when you start an SAP system, meaning to say when you start an SAP system you found an error, you couldn't start the SAP system, and what are all the logs which is available in SAP system, where you can find out the issues why this SAP system could not be started. This kind of information can be founded from this information can be found from the SAP log. And the SAP system configuration, meaning to say system parameters, how do we set different system parameters, what is the implications of the system parameters. Operating system modes, meaning to say the SAP system can be operated in a different mode, something like a day mode and night mode, because to cope with your business requirement you can switch this mode in order to balance the workload. How these modes can be used, and first of all by conceptually, as well as we will see how we can use these modes in the SAP systems. And we will see Java tools, meaning to say different administrative tools which is available in the SAP Java. Basically the entire course is designed for SAP ABAP as well as Java, so we will go hand in hand and to understand SAP ABAP as well as Java. We will also see what are the different configuration tools which is available in the SAP Java basis area, and SSL configuration in SAP Java. We will see the system software development, and that means the data structure of SAP systems and above objects on the SAP systems. We will see system monitoring, how can we monitor the systems, and CCMS alert monitoring, that means the automated monitoring which is available in SAP, how we can configure it. Once you configure this, how we can benefit from this one. meaning to say centrally how we can monitor these SAP systems instead of going into different parameters and see. We can monitor or we can configure everything in the CCMS and how we can monitor this one. We will also see conceptually how this CCMS is going to work, connecting to different SAP system into CCMS and monitor the entire landscape from one central CCMS system. Also we will see, and the SAP traces and CCMS remote integrations. We will see RFC connections. These RFC connections is one of the most important thing in SAP, how we can connect different SAP environment or a non-SAP environment to another SAP system. As you know, nowadays SAP system cannot work independently. You need to connect to different ERP systems and different data sources to your SAP systems. We will see how the RFC connections fundamentally works, the fundamentals of RFC, and how we can set up these RFC connections, how we can set up cross business functionalities, and we will see printer management. Printer management also quite important in SAP Basis, how we can manage printers, how we can create logical spool servers, how we can distribute the load in the printers. These kind of informations we will see how we can configure it, and we will see background job scheduling, because this is also quite important, how what is the underlying technology behind background job scheduling, how we can schedule background jobs, what all the different background jobs like time-based jobs, if you want to run it on periodic basis, or if you want to trigger it by external event, some background job. These kind of information we will see, because this RFC and background jobs is very important to understand in order to build some interface as a basis consultant. If you want to build some interface for your business requirement, then we need to understand the baseline technology behind all these things, how we can configure it. That we will see in detail in this course, and we will see SAP system landscaping, because this is very important. To design an SAP landscape, we need to understand the SAP system landscape. So we will start from the introduction of SAP system landscape. We will see SAP clients, what are the different SAP clients we have, what it can be used, how we can set up these clients, and what all the options we have in SAP clients. We will see it in this particular session, and we will see SAP landscape setup, how we can set up an SAP landscape, how we can make a transport management system, how we can put all this SAP system together to build a transport management systems, and how we can handle the transport tools and everything. We will see it here, and managing transport request, and meaning to say, once you build the transport management systems, how the TRs, each transport will be handled, for what reason we will handle it. We will see first by concept, then we will see how we can handle it in the SAP systems, step by step configuration procedure and development transport, how it's going to be configured, or how we can handle the development transport, how we can handle the customizing transports, and what kind of object modifications are available in SAP. This you may think as a job, this will be done by functional or ABAP consultant. However, as a basis consultant, we need to understand the entire SAP systems. So we will see that one here, and importing of transport requests, and what are all the kind of transport requests we can import, and what kind of scenarios we can implement for importing transport request, how we can monitor this transport request, and we will see managing clients, or how to create a new client, how to compare the client. This we will see it here, and we will see SAP software components like SAP notes, what is it used for, how we can apply SAP notes, support packs, enhancement packs, how we can implement the enhancement pack, and we will see SAP installations, how we can install SAP, and how we can prepare how to install an SAP system. We will see a live demo of how the SAP system is installed in a Windows environment, and we will see planning of installation, what are all the plans we need to do in order to start an SAP installation. This is quite important, and we will see SAP ECC installation as such, and we will see SAP installation activities like post installation activities, the post installation steps, what we need to do, SAP support packages, how we can install licenses, how we can install online help in SAP, how we can do the initial configuration, what all the initial configuration we need to consider and how we can do this initial configuration. We will also see how we can install SAP GUI installations. As a basis consultant, it is also part of your job to install SAP GUI in the PCs, and we can also see SAP GUI installation, what are the different options we have, and we will see introduction to workload analysis. As a basis consultant, very important that you monitor your SAP systems to keep it consistent in a way where the business will benefit from the SAP systems. So we will see workload analysis, how we can analyze the workload, and we will see memory management. It is quite important to understand. It's a very critical topic in SAP. We will see how the memory areas are being defined in SAP, how the memories is allocated. By understanding this memory allocations, then we will be able to identify most complex issue in SAP systems. So first we will see how to make the system change options. So in the system change options, let's say whether it is a repository object or client independent customizing object, we can specify whether this can be modified globally or for individual components. So using the transaction code SE06, we can change the system change options in your SAP system. So let's go to our SAP system. Let's go to the transaction code SE06, and you can see here system change options. Select this, then it will come to the screen. Here you can specify all the system change options. The first, what you can see here, global setting. So here you have two options, whether it is modifiable or not modifiable. If you say not modifiable, then become not modifiable for all the objects, whether it is software component or namespace range. So let's put it modifiable. So let's first discuss about the software components. In software components, you have the standard SAP components where you can specify whether this particular component are modifiable or the related status. First, let us see what is modifiable. Modifiable means in the standard SAP software component, in the SAP software components, this particular component is modifiable for customer or modifiable in this specific system where we are making these changes. You can see here the software component name as well as the technical name. This is application, this is for defense enforce, and like this you have HR, PS. For different components we can specify it here. So all the components which is available in the system is already available here for to specify what is the status of this component. Then the next option is restricted modifiable. This means you can only create the object as a non-original object for the specific components. That means you cannot modify the existing components. Instead, you can create additional objects in this particular component as a non-original objects. Okay, that is the second option. The third option is not modifiable but enhancement only, meaning to say you are not allowed to make any changes. However, the objects can be enhanced using the enhancement framework of SAP. Then the fourth option is not modifiable, not enhanceable. In this case, you cannot modify this component or you cannot enhance this component. Now let us come to the second part of these options, which is names and name ranges. As we know, in SAP you can have your own namespace. The namespace is generally given to large scale customer as well as the partners who is working with SAP. So you can register this namespace with SAP so that this particular namespace is reserved for the customers or the partner. If you are working with SAP to create some tools or enhancement sets, you creating some tools, then you can keep all the objects which is created by you in your own name. As you can see, the namespace start with slash, then namespace, then you have the objects, your own objects. Okay, these are all the namespace. Presently what we have is an SAP standard namespace. Yeah, so this is not by third party. So as we seen, this is a fresh system, this is not by third party. So if the customer wanted to add an additional namespace, we can reserve this namespace with the SAP, then that will be identified for this specific vendor or the customer. Here in this namespace also you can specify whether this namespace is modifiable in this particular system or it is not modifiable in this particular system. So we can select whether it is modifiable or not modifiable. Yeah, once you change these changes and say save it, then it will automatically save the changes. And these changes are not transportable, this is each system specific. Then you make the modification and you make this and you save the changes which is applicable for this specific system. Okay, you change it back and save it. Okay, now let's go back to our presentation. The next what we are going to see is client change options. The client change options have two major part, which is for changes and transport of client specific objects and cross client object changes. So this is the two different main element of client change options which we are going to see now. The changes of the client, the setting of the client is saved in the table T000, T000, and the client can be maintained using the transaction code SCC4. So let's go to our SAP system and see this transaction code as well as the table. So if you go to the transaction SCC4, you can see the client overview. Here we have three different clients in the system. The client which you have right now logged in is 001. So if you want to make any modification in the client, you simply say change. It says the table is cross client because when you change this, when you change any of this setting in one client, then it will be available in the other client as well, because the client setting is for the system, not for the specific client. Okay, so it's a cross client table. Say okay. Now you can see it's ready for change. If you double click, now you can see now this is available for change. Okay, if I go back, if I go to the transaction code SE16, go to the table T000, this table T000 which saves all the client related setting. In many times that if you wanted to see the client setting, generally the SCC4 authorization is not provided to all the consultants. In some cases we want to monitor what is happening in the client setting, then we can go to this table and actually monitor the client settings. Now here let's say execute. Now you can see we have three different client 000 and 001 and 066. Here client meaning it has a different meaning, that is not the same client which we have seen in the other tables, because that tables have client to restrict your access based on the client. Here the client is basically the client of the SAP system. So this data is available in all the clients wherever you are logging in. Okay, and you can see the name of the client as well as city and country and all this related informations. Now let's go to the transaction /NSCC4. Go to the change option, open one of the client. So before we go to the options of changes and transport of client specific object and cross client object changes, first have a look into these ones, because this is also quite important. Here you can see the client number as well as the description of the client. Okay, you can provide, it's a free text, you can change. Let's say this is a default client. Okay, we can change as you like, and then you can define the city. This is again a free text, you can specify whichever the city you want. Let's say so I will change it to, let's say, New York. New York City. So it's a free text, this can be used if it is required for some programs. And you have the currency you have to select based on your currency which is available in the SAP system. So we have USD. Okay, let it be USD, or if you want to select a different one, you can still select it here. The reason is each client may have different standard currency. So this will be the standard currency which will be used in the specific client. Okay, so I will put it back to USD. So it does not mean that only this currency is used in the entire system. You can use different currencies. Again, this depends on the functional specification, how you are customizing it, but this is the standard currency used in this client. Okay, then we have client role. The client role, you have quite a lot of options. This is very important, this is quite important setting. So you have customizing. Customizing means this particular client is used for customizing. Okay, then we have test and production. Customizing is generally used in the development system. Test means it's a quality system. If you put it to production, that means this system is productive systems. Okay, as a basis consultant, we have to be very careful about this client roles. In the contractual, in the licensing part as well, when the system is productive, then that system is the one which is going to be counted for your number of users in your landscape. So you have to be quite careful when you are putting a system into production. So only the actual productive system should be marked as client role production. Otherwise you will have customizing for the system which is used for development, and if it is a QA system, then you will put it as test for the QA system. Or if it is a demo system, just you use this let's say if you use this system as a proof of concept to demo to the customers, then you can use the demo system. Or if you use this system for training, for internal training or education, then we will use it for training and education. Or if you are using it for SAP reference or a golden client system, then we can use it as SAP reference. Golden client means there's another one concept. Let's say whenever you are doing any major changes, then you can make a copy of your client and keep that as a golden client, that you will never change this client. If something goes wrong in your existing client which you are doing the changes, then you can refer back to this golden client. Okay, that's a reference system. Right now we will keep it a customizing system. Let's assume this particular system is a development system. Let's have a look into the first setting, that is change and transport for client specific objects. That means client specific object means the customizing object which is specific to the client. The client specific objects which we have seen, which is the company code or the customizing objects like profit center, cost center and everything, is all client specific objects. Okay, the master data and all this thing is not covered because the data is a transactional data. We are talking about customizing settings. Okay, here we have 4 options. Let's see one by one. First, what is it? First one is changes without automatic recording. When you select this option, the customizing settings in the client, this specific client 001 is allowed. However, it is not automatically recorded for the transport request. Nevertheless, you can create a TR and you can add the object whatever you have customized at this system and you can transport it manually. Okay, we will see that in the system later how this works. The second option is automatic recording of changes. When you select this option, it allows you to make customizing changes in the specific clients. However, when you make any changes in the system, it will prompt you to create a transport request. So until unless you create a transport request and save the changes, that changes will not be effective or saved in the system. This is called automatic recording of changes. If you should have noticed, when we are doing some changes previously, we got a pop-up automatically in the time when we are creating, for example, this printer devices and stuff like this. It automatically pops up and says that you need to create a TR. Okay, that is automatic recording of changes. The third one is no changes allowed, that you are not allowed to change anything in this particular client. Okay, and the fourth one is changes without automatic recording. Okay, no automatic recording is without automatic recording, same like the first option, but no transport allowed. Okay, you can do the changes but you cannot transport it. Okay, here what we can do is we can do the changes but it will not prompt you to create a TR, but you can manually create a TR and you can transport. Here you can do the same thing, you can do the changes but transports are not allowed. Okay, that is the 4 different options in this SAP system. So let's see the first one. Let it be in the same option. Right now we have automatic recording with changes. Okay, let's save the changes. Let's go back. Let's make any changes in our SAP system. So let's create a customizing change. As we know, in all the functional changes, all the customizing changes will be carried out using a transaction called SPRO. Let's go to SPRO. Let's do some customizing changes. These customizing changes are generally done by your functional consultant. We can also do some customizing changes. Let's go from beginning. You run the transaction code SPRO. Then you go to SAP reference IMG. Then you go to SAP NetWeaver. let's do something standard setting. Then you select general setting, and let's say, okay, set countries. Let's say we want to create a new country code. Okay, right now there will be enough country codes. If you go here, you can see these are all the different country codes. So let's assume some of my country is not here. Okay, I want to create a new country in this SAP system. Okay, so I will say new entry, then let's create a new country code Z1. So alternative key is also is at A. No, I don't want alternative Q. Let's leave it like that, blank. Let's say SAP Basis TR Training 01. Country code created during SAP Basis Training. Okay, you can also specify nationality in long. Quite a lot of settings. We have also ISO code and address layout key. So right here we need to specify the date format, because the date format is used different each countries use different date format, so it's a mandatory one. And also we need to select the decimal format. Okay, once you select these ones, and let's say save. So as soon as you save, then you can see it is prompting you to create a customizing request. Okay, right now if I say cancel, then the request will not be saved. If I say cancelled, now it's not saved. Okay, right now we only entered this information, it's not saved. If you save it, you need to create the request, then only it will save. Okay, let me create a request and say BC Basis Training country code Z1. Save. This is a TR. When I say OK, now you can see the data is saved. The data is saved in the particular TR. If I go to the TR number, how do I search the TR? Because let's assume I forgot the TR number. We go to SC01 and go to the transport and all the modifiable ones. It's a customizing request display. We can see this BC training country code, the one which we have created, and the object related to the changes what we have done is already added here. So basically it's kind of some table entries which is added here. Okay, so if I double click here, you can also see this is the object. Okay, this is the object name which is added here. Okay, then let's go back. Okay, this is the first setting in SEC4. Yes, let's go to SEC4. Go to the change option. Open the client. So this is the option automatic recording of changes. That's a second option. That is the second option. Okay, now let's change it to first one. Changes without automatic recording. Now let's save it. Okay, let's go back. Now I will go to same SPRO. Go to SAP reference IMG, SAP NetWeaver, general setting, set countries, define countries. Let's create one more country code now. So new country code, set 2. So we can also go back and see our old country code which we have created. I will cancel this one. Say cancelled. The country code which we have created is Z1. Yeah, Z1 it's already there. Okay, let's create it again. Z2 SAP Basis Training 02 without country code SAP Basis Training without auto record. Okay, so let's select some date format, and we also have decimal format. Then let's save this one. Now you can see it says the data is saved. However, this does not prompt you to create a TR. But if you go back here, you can also see the Z2 is already saved. Okay, so this is two different options. Okay, now you may wonder why we need to have these two different options. Okay, the first one is, for example, with recording is for the development client. So whatever the changes you are doing, you have to record in the client, so that the changes, the customizing changes which you are doing is never missed or never been transported to your quality system or productive system. So you always have a transport request for all the changes what you are doing, or you will not also miss any of the changes when you are creating the transport request. Then the second option is very useful in case of sandbox client. In sandbox client, you will do quite a lot of changes when you want to test some solutions. However, you do not want to transport these changes to any other system, because it's only you're trying to simulate your solution is going to work or not. So once you confirm the solution is going to work, then you are going to do the changes in your development client. However, in the second option, you can also manually transport these changes if it is necessary. Manually transport means, right now, let's say when you go to C01, okay, this is the TR which we created before. Let's say I wanted to transport second changes which we have done in this client without recording. Then we go to SC01, go create a TR, so customizing TR, let's say BC training customizing without auto recording. Okay, now we have a TR. Now we wanted to change, we want to add the objects, and you can simply double click here and change it. Then you can say R3 R then the object names is that v underscore t005, this object name, the same object name as what we have seen here. We added this object, so the object is added manually into this TR. Let's come back. I saved the changes. So this request have some warnings. I said yes. Okay, right now you can see the object is added manually in this particular transport. Now you can release this transport. Actually this task is not required because we added this manually to the TR itself. We can delete this task. So the object is directly added to the TR, then you can release this TR and you can transport it. This is manually adding the object into the TR. So in this option we can still manually add this and transport it. So let's go back to SEC4 and see the another options. SEC4, go to the change mode. Let's open it. So let's come to the third option, no changes allowed. Okay. Here Let's save this one. The no changes allowed means that you cannot modify or you cannot do any customizing in this specific client. Let's say this option is used in the productive client. In the productive system, we will keep no changes allowed in this specific client. In the productive system, we should not do any customizing. That means we are not allowed to do any customizing in the productive systems. Now you may think, if we need to maintain some data in the productive system, let's say for example exchange rate or posting period, these are all a customizing change. Even though it's a customizing change, in many of the cases, for example posting period is maintained directly in the productive system. In that kind of scenarios, SAP already have an option that you can maintain these changes in the productive system directly, even though this particular options is selected. Not all, but some of them we can still maintain it. This means the maintenance objects can be maintained still. That's what the logic behind that. So the changes not allowed is mainly used in the productive systems. Right now this combination does not match. In the productive system you will put it production, then you will say changes not allowed. In test also we will use this one in order to simulate the actual production scenario. Also in some time in the training system also we will use in order to have the actual production scenario simulations. Okay, let's keep this one like this. Then let's go back to our customizing /n spro, go to SAP reference IMG, go to SAP NetWeaver, global setting countries, define country settings. Here you can see client 001 has status not modifiable. That means you cannot modify this client. I say OK, but you can still display, but you do not have the option to modify, so you cannot change anything. Okay, but you can still display it. Okay, this is no changes allowed. We have one more option. Let's go to /n scc4, change. This is changes without automatic recording, same like the first one. However, transports are not allowed. This is the fourth option. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. Next, have a look into cross-client object changes. In this particular setting, this describes which clients are allowed to maintain cross-client objects. For example, this makes, if you know, it makes sense to disallow the cross-client maintenance if the object to the maintained, the object to be maintained in a client or extensively application object. That means all client specific or all client related customizing objects. In this case, for example, in the test client, you must be able to ensure that all cross client functionality cannot be changed. Okay, the cross client functionality includes all cross client functionality objects. For example, the factory calendar or price list conditions or print control, but in particular they are all included, in particular they also include all objects of SAP repository. As we know, the programs, function modules, screens, dictionary and table definitions all included in that. The first option which you can see, the changes to repository and cross-client customizing is allowed. If you select this option, there are no restriction in the maintenance of the cross-client objects for the client. meaning to say both cross client objects and the object for the repository object can be maintained. So this option is used only in case of customizing or the development client. Okay. The second one is no changes to the cross client customizing object. Okay. So only cross client customizing object is restricted here. If you see here, you only cross client customizing object is restricted here, meaning to say the repository changes are still allowed. Okay. Why we need to have it like that? If let's say you have a separate client, separate development client which is separated from the customizing client, then we can do it like this. So no changes for cross client objects. That means you can still do the repository object changes. That means the development can be done. Okay, in that case we can use this one. And the third option is no changes to the repository object. That means you cannot do the repository object changes like programs and other stuff. However, you can still do cross client customizing and customizing as well. So in these two cases you will use in case you want to separate the development client, that means the repository object client, the repository object changes, that's a development client, from customizing client. Then we can use these options. The fourth one is no changes in the repository object and cross client customizing object. Here what we will do, here the combination of both with disallows, that means neither the cross client customizing object nor the repository object can be maintained in this particular client. So this is basically used in the landscape of for example production and test. We can say all the system except development system, development client should have this particular option. Okay. And we also have some more additional options here, CAT and ECAT restrictions. CAT is automated testing tool. The automated testing tool is basically you can create this CAT scripts and you can run quite a lot of you can run your business scenario for automated testing. So here we can specify whether it is allowed or not allowed, or on what condition we can allow. The risk behind this ECAT and CAT, it can create a lot of business transactional data within fraction of seconds. So if you run ECAT or UCAT or CAT script in the productive system, this can have a big impact. So we have to be very specific this CAT scripts are allowed in the system or not. Here you can see first option is the CAT script was not allowed. That means we cannot allow CAT script at all. And the second option is CAT script allowed. That means this particular client, maybe it's a test system where CAT scripts are allowed, that you need to do some testing, or if you need to do some simulate some business scenario, then you will use the CAT script. In the productive system we will always put CAT script not allowed. So you do not do a major change using CAT script in the productive system. And we can also have CAT script allowed only in trusted RFC. That also one of the main problem in CAT scripts, that you can call an RFC destination and run the CAT script from a different system, which is quite difficult, which is quite critical, because in the actual system where it is running, the system owner or the productive system, you will not be aware who is running this particular CAT script. So only in the trusted system, if you want to run, you can still allow from the trusted system to run the CAT scripts. And you can see ECATs allowed, but functional and ABAP and CAT are not allowed. Okay, you are running a function module or an ABAP report, it's not allowed. Only ECAT is allowed, and ECAT allowed, but functional and ABAP and CAT only in the trusted RFC. Okay, this also we can specify in the client setting, as well as we have additional restriction, protect against SAP upgrade. Because if you see in SAP upgrade steps, we have couple of steps which is very critical, and it's basically you just simply go and enable the upgrade steps and run this program, and it will start upgrading the entire upgrade process, which is very critical. Once you start this process and you cannot revert it back. So if in case somebody should not start the upgrade without proper testing or proper conditions, then we can protect the specific client of an SAP system from upgrade. If you enable this one, then this particular upgrade steps in the SAP system will not be carried out in this specific client. Then it will give you an error message saying that this we cannot be carried out. So for that we will use this particular option. And we also have an option for locked due to client copy. Let's say when you are doing a client copy, you can lock this specific client that there is no other activity should be done, because you are doing a client copy from different systems, so that you will do quite a lot of changes in that specific time, that you are not supposed to do any modification on this particular client. Is also a useful option. Okay, let's go back to our presentation now. Okay, here we have so far what we have seen, the client setting options available in the SAP system. So if you are in a project where you are doing quite a lot of customizing, so all your customizing changes needs to be transported to productive system. In that cases, we know what is the client setting we are going to use and how we are going to manage these clients. If it is in the productive system, we will not allow any changes. If it is in the development system, we will make sure that you record all the changes. In the productive system, we will also make sure there is no cross-client repository or no cross-client customizing is being done, and the client role in the productive system will be production. Okay, and these changes will be done in the development, and you are going to transport it to the productive system using the transport request using TMS. Then you can transport this one, so that the changes which you are doing is 100% tested in the quality system. Then it is approved based on your process to be imported in the productive system. However, we have some changes which is directly done, or which can be directly done in the productive system. The reason behind that is the data as such, it is like that the frequency of the change in this particular data is quite high. For example, exchange rate can vary from one day to another day, or in the same day also it can change. So the exchange rate cannot be maintained in the development, or it's very difficult to maintain the exchange rate in the development system and keep transporting it, and it will not be practical at all. In this kind of scenario, SAP has introduced something called current setting functionality. So in the current setting functionality, which can be used in the productive client without impacting any customizing object or without impacting any business process. Okay, this is called current settings, which is introduced by SAP. This is, we can say, this is SAP approved customizing object which can be maintained in the productive system. So these objects are maintained in the table OBJH. That means whatever the objects present in this particular table or the object which is related to current setting. So you can maintain it directly in the productive system even though you have all these options enabled and you have restricted these particular changes. Okay, if you go to our SAP system, let's go back. Let's go to transaction SE16. This is our table name OBJH. You can specify the object here and execute, then it will say whether it is allowed or not allowed or client specific, or so this all this information is saved in this particular table. So please join our course and benefit from this course, and this will make you as an SAP basis consultant, and good luck for the future.